How optimistic are you in general about upcoming game releases? Do you look at them and go, oh, I can't wait for that. It's going to be incredible. It's going to be so amazing. Or do you look at it and go, maybe they pull it off. Maybe they don't. I don't really know. We'll just have to see, but I don't have high hopes. And how much does that factor into your enjoyment of the game? If you can just look back historically on all the games that you've looked forward to, how many of the ones that you were really, really excited for did you love? Did you really enjoy? Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. And then another question is, how optimistic are you about your own projects, your own upcoming projects, and how does that affect your workflow? Does that keep you working on the game, or does it keep you away from the game? I want to explore this concept a little bit, and I want to instill a little bit of optimism too, because I feel like we're in this period of time where it's easy to get a little bit concerned, a little bit pessimistic about creativity in general. There are a lot of changes going on. There's all this AI stuff, and it's easy to look at it and get kind of a doomed mentality. Well, I've got what I believe to be some realistic optimism to share with you on that. Not the kind of thing that's so optimistic that it crushes your hopes and dreams by being unattainable. No, just some realistic, here we go, here's why making stuff is still a good thing. That kind of optimism. I like that stuff. Let's jump into this. I am your host, Chris. This is Game, Develop, Repeat. I suppose anticipation is a different thing from optimism, but I'm going to tie them together just a little bit. I'm going to conflate these two ideas a little bit for the sake of this conversation. Whenever I am anticipating a new title and feeling very optimistic about it, that scares me. I look at that and I go, ooh, I might not enjoy this because I'm looking at it and I'm thinking it's going to be all these things and I have all these very high expectations and it's probably not going to live up to them. Every once in a blue moon, it lives up to them somehow. And then even then, I'm like, well, maybe I should have not looked forward to this so much. And I wonder if this has the same effect on our own projects, on our own creations. I wonder if on some level there's a crossover there. If really getting excited about the project you're making, if really being optimistic about it, if really feeling like you're creating something incredible and it's going to be so good and it's going to do so much for you and it's going to be such a great expression of who you are, and then you work on the project and you're sitting there working on it and you're going, this is not that great. Does that have the same impact? We'll talk about that more in the develop section of this, but I just want to tie that idea in right from the get-go because I want you to already start thinking about that because I think that's a real problem. We've all had the experience of looking forward to a game, playing it, and going, okay. The looking forward to it was the best part of it. And then you get to the game itself and you go, okay, fine, whatever. Also, please forgive me if my voice is a little bit off today. I'm finishing up the last phases of recovering from a weird cold. But yeah, you get into that game and you really dive deep into it, and it's it's good. It's not as good as you were hoping. It's not as good as waiting for it. You notice all these little flaws in it now that you're playing it. Nothing is perfect. Everything's a little off. The story's not quite it. All this. It's okay. But then have you ever done the reverse where you go, it's not gonna be good. This game is gonna suck. It's gonna be a terrible game. It's gonna be a bad game. And then you go, you know what? People keep saying it's all right. People are saying it's good. Look, I'll give it a try, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna be terrible. And then you play it. And you go, oh, shoot, that's kind of, hey, what a game. That's actually, oh, man, that game was way better than I expected. It's got major flaws, don't get me wrong, but I really enjoyed my time with it. That's what just happened with me with Final Fantasy 16. I finished that game, and I really enjoyed it. I heard a lot of bad things. I heard some good things, and I kind of dismissed the good things. I went, okay, well, sure, there's people who always like these Final Fantasy games, and, they'll always go to bat for it, but I'm going to give it a shot. And I gave it a shot, expecting very bad things, expecting low expectations, and I loved it. It was great. There are things that were flawed, but, there's always things that are flawed. And the number of times that has happened for me is significant. There's a lot of times where I pick up a game with low expectations or no expectations, and then I play it and I love it. Ooh, no expectations is a whole nother thing that I wish I could do more often. Having zero expectations for a game, nothing positive, nothing negative, just going in and going, I wonder what this will be like. That's beautiful. It feels like that's like you got to be like a Zen master or something to get to that state again, to have that experience with a game. It's so hard to run into that situation these days. I mean, the moment you click on a Steam page, you have expectations. But I remember as a kid opening up a game, having zero expectations, playing it and going, oh, this is so cool. You're just discovering, you're just learning as you go. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. It's so interesting. And I like working from that place. This place of, well, I don't have any real expectation of what this is going to be. And then you end up enjoying it. Or maybe you end up not liking it, but you go, okay, whatever. And now, this is where I'm going to tie in this idea of optimism. I think we can look at this and we can say, one way or another, I'm going to have a good time. It's just when you have a good time. At what point are you going to enjoy yourself? You can enjoy yourself looking forward to the game. You can have a good time all the time there. And then once you get the game, you go, well, that's disappointing. You still had all the enjoyment. You still had all the excitement. You had this whole experience around it. It's just once you got to the game, that experience is over. Now you've got a bad game. Okay, stop playing it. Do something else. Alternatively, the whole time you look forward to it, you're kind of dreading it. And then once you hit the game, you go, this is incredible. You've got a good portion where you're experiencing dread and concern and not looking forward to this and thinking it's going to be bad. And then once you get to the game and you play it, then you have a good time. We just have like a recency bias, right? You look at the game and you go, I finished off with it being a bad experience. So the whole thing was bad and I was lied to and all of this. Or you play the game and it was great after this whole period of dread. You don't think about the whole period of time where you're going, oh, that sucked. I was looking at it and being so worried, and I was worrying myself, and I was going, oh, this is going to be such a problem, and it was consuming my thoughts about how bad this is going to be and how they're ruining my favorite series, and then I played it, and it was great. You don't think about that. You just go, wow, they really delivered, right? Whatever happened last, you go, oh, wow, they did such a good job with that game. But you're enjoying yourself either way. The anticipation of the game is enjoyable, right? And then the playing the game and it being good is also enjoyable. And if we're being very honest with ourselves, hating the game and feeling so justified and going, oh my God, this game is terrible. I can't believe how much this sucks. I can't believe what they did to this. They've ruined it. I know what makes this game bad. I know everything about how terrible it is, and I can list it all out for you. I'm getting into kind of a rage about it and just like going full in on how bad and terrible everything about it is. It's kind of fun. It's kind of a good time. So if we're being very, very like honest with ourselves, you kind of like it, right? Just a little bit. There's this little part of you that goes, I'm so right about this. You like it in a weird way. I've met people who love fighting with other people, right? Have you ever met one of these people who's like, it seems like their entire existence is fueled by conflict and like bickering and hate, or somebody whose entire existence is fueled by just being in a struggle at all times? And it's like they're just putting themselves in this situation all the time for some reason, and they're suffering all the time. And it's like, yeah, but there's a part of them that just wants that. They just like that. They're just like, they're into it. And it's different versions of this, right? Some people are just stuck there and don't know how to get out. And then some people are just like, they're having a good time with it. They're really enjoying the suffering, or they're really enjoying the anger or whatever. And I would just encourage you to enjoy hating a game, right? When you get to that point where you're like, oh my God, they really screwed this up. Like, I enjoy my dislike of Starfield because I went into that game with like pretty low expectations to begin with, and then it built my expectations up really high from like the title screen. I was like, oh, this game seems incredible. They're really crushing it. This is going to be such a good experience. And then it immediately dashed them, and then it brought them back up, and then it brought them back down, and it brought it back up, and it brought them back down. And I was like, I hate this so much, and I kind of love hating it this much. Like, I ranted about it to a couple different people. I was like, God, I really hate this game. And when I think about it, I like hating that game. It's fun to hate that game. It's enjoyable for me because I can articulate so many of the specific things that bother me about it, and it's I wish it wasn't that way. I would like for the game to be better in a lot of different ways, and I have a lot of respect for the people that made it, but I see the fatal flaws, and I kind of get that like enjoyable, self-righteous, like you look at it and you go, "Oh, I know so much better" kind of thing. Like it's a bunch of crap, but I enjoy it, Like that feeling of, "Oh, look at what I know" kind of thing. That's a nonsense feeling. The game is probably fine, by the way. I mean, I'm sure there are people who like Starfield, and more power to you. I can't get through it. I can't deal with that game. Do you see what I'm getting at here, though? I don't know if the takeaway is completely clear, the thing that I'm trying to convey here. But I'm trying to convey that you can be optimistic about the experience that you're going to have kind of regardless. Because one way or another, you're getting some form of enjoyment out of it. You're getting some kind of nice emotional experience here. This is kind of why people love bad movies. There's a certain level of bad movie where you go, "Oh, this is incredible. I can't believe how bad this movie is. Wow, this is so good." Right? And it can be really frustrating in a game for sure. And sometimes there's a bad movie that's so bad that you're just like, I'm not even mad at how bad this is. I just want to leave. That's a thing too. But one way or another, you're getting a unique emotional experience. You're learning something, you're exploring something. And that's always kind of fun, right? You know how we were just talking about how you can get so mad at something that it's kind of enjoyable? Now let's talk about programming. I think anybody who's done some programming, even like a couple hours of it, you've had the experience of, "Oh my God, why isn't this working? I'm so mad. Why isn't this working? What the heck?" And you're like gonna lose your mind. You're gonna blow a gasket. Is that even the word? Blow a gasket? I think that's the phrase. You're gonna lose it working on this program. You're getting so upset. You're getting so infuriated. You're like, "Why doesn't this work? It's not doing what I told it to. I'm furious." All this stuff. You can you can kind of like it. You can kind of like it because then once you finish solving the problem, then it's such a huge relief. You're going on a roller coaster, This is part of a roller coaster that you're going through while you're programming. And if you can just enjoy the full depth of that emotional roller coaster that is some awful programming challenge, if you can just lean into it a little bit and just go, "Yeah, this is part of the process. And if I'm honest, like, I kind of dig it," then great. You're going to enjoy it in some way, regardless. It feels so ridiculous, right? To go, "God, I hate this so much that I enjoy hating it." Or like, "I'm so annoyed by this problem. I'm so frustrated by this that I'm really like enjoying getting frustrated by it." It seems like a ridiculous thing, but it's a real thing in my mind. Now let's talk a little bit about this very strange relationship I have with optimism and game development. Because I do think optimism can be a very good thing, and I am going to share some genuine optimism with you in a moment about all of this, the AI stuff and all that too. But I think that there's an angle at which optimism gets in the way, right? If you're feeling so very optimistic about your project, if you feel like all this great stuff is going to happen as a result of it, and then you get into it and you're in that code and you're in that mindset where you're just so mad and frustrated and ticked off at some minor problem, or you're having trouble importing some art asset, or something just doesn't look right, and you're just in there and you were expecting to have a really good time and you're having a really bad time, that's not that fun, right? But if you go in expecting to have kind of a bad time and you come out having a good time, And that's pretty good. And I'm not talking about creating a self-fulfilling prophecy of failure, because I feel like that's something you could take away from this, right? You could go, "Oh, okay, expect everything to be bad and then go in and work on it and make it bad and whatever and make some crappy game, and your expectations for your game are low, so you make a bad game." No. I'm talking about having a vision for something really cool that you want to make and looking at it and going, "This is what I want to do. This is what I'm working towards. I'm going to do my best with it. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be cool. It's going to be fun. And I'm going to work towards it, and it's going to be great." But the process of making it is going to be difficult. And here's where the optimism comes in. And I'm going to enjoy the difficulty in its own weird way. I'm going to enjoy creating things because I enjoy the feeling of solving this, the feeling of learning something, the feeling of making progress. I enjoy seeing something come to become something else. A bunch of text characters on your screen become a working program. You enjoy that. You don't enjoy the idea of this perfect game that's just going to be magical. You sit down and code and you go, "Oh, I'm going to create a perfect game." No, that's not optimistic. That's just a weird dream thing, right? That's just, "Oh, I'm going to sit down and it's going to be very easy and a game is just going to come out." That's rough, man. That's really painful to sit down and go, "I'm going to create something beautiful and it's going to go smoothly." And then it starts going really, really not smoothly. It will never go smoothly. And that may sound pessimistic, but it's not. It's just part of the process of creating things. And it's one of the most beautiful parts of the process of creating things. You go in and you struggle and you keep struggling and you keep struggling. And then something beautiful comes out of the other end of it. You work blood, sweat, and tears, and you create this dumpy little game with your own little sound effects and your own art, and you got this cool gameplay loop going, and you put it up, you go through marketing, and you sell it, and it's cool. It's just cool, right? All of that struggle, all of that suffering, even if you don't sell a copy, you made something. You made something that did not exist before. That's where the optimism comes in. You have a guaranteed result, and it's freaking incredible. That is one of the coolest, weirdest things that could ever exist. You can sit in front of a computer screen, hit these weird little plastic keys in a certain order, and tell the computer to do something. And then you can hit a button and it'll do it. And then you can make a fake world in your computer that other people can interact with, that you can interact with, that can stay on your computer for years. You can forget about. You can come back to it a decade later, play it, and go, "Oh my God, I made this. Oh, I forgot about this." And you can remember the entire process of making the game. And you can remember all the little details, and you can notice every sound effect. And you can start going, "Ooh, what if I did this different? What if I did that different?" Maybe you start doing something else. Maybe you share it with your kids that didn't even exist when you started making the project, and you show it to them and they go, "What is this?" And you go, "Oh, I made this." And they go, "You made this?" That's what we're doing here. We're making things. Not money, right? Not success stories. That's side stuff. The guaranteed result is that you made a cool thing. If that's not something to be optimistic about, then I don't know what is. The fact that we're in a situation where we can do this is absurd. I mean, absurd. Like, genuinely one of the weirdest things that has ever existed. I cannot possibly convey to you how bizarre it feels that we are able to do this. I made a game with no formal training in computer science or anything because game engines already exist. And there's just tutorials and resources online. I learned all of this stuff and made it because that's all available to me. And then we look and we go, oh my God, it's so hard to make it in the games industry. Look, yes, it is. Sure. But you can make a video game. That's insane. That is absolutely one of the craziest things that humanity has ever accomplished, is that some guy can just sit around in his room for a year, in his spare time, and make a game and then share it with other people. And it's not that expensive to do that. It takes a lot of time. But in terms of actual cost, it's not crazy. If that's not something to be optimistic about, I don't know what is. We've reached that point as a society, as a world. That's insane. Absolutely crazy. Now, let's do a little side note for some general optimism, because I know some people that are feeling generally pessimistic right now, and they feel like that's very realistic for them to be pessimistic. And fair enough, you know what? Do your thing. And I was thinking about it, and I went, when have I felt that way about something? And I look at AI stuff and I go, is this going to rob people of the opportunity to create things? Because if you haven't noticed throughout this podcast and even throughout just this episode, I'm very passionate about the creative process, about the importance of people making stuff, not to make money, not even necessarily to communicate ideas with other people, though I think that is huge. Or communicate emotional experiences with other people more than just ideas. Separate from all of that, just the creative process, just the instinct to make something and going through the process of making something and doing it yourself, working through that, exploring your own mind, finding weird ideas and taking the action necessary to implement those ideas. That is so important to me. And it's easy to look at AI stuff and go, is this going to rob us of our creativity? I've seen people doing this. One of the few things that AI is kind of good at is making stuff, because, it steals a lot of stuff and it's very derivative and so on. But here's the optimism. No matter what, literally no matter what happens with AI, it cannot rob you of the ability to make stuff. It's impossible. It can't be done. You can make stuff. You will always be able to make stuff. It is not possible to get rid of that capability. Maybe one day there's no game engine available for you and you can't create a game because maybe you don't have your computer with you right now, or something closed source happened. I don't know, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You can still create stuff internally, right? You can still create drafts. You can create songs. You can create little tunes in your head. The point I'm trying to make here is focus on the stuff that you can do. And even if you're worried about losing stuff that you can do, you will always be able to do something that you love doing. And there's this feeling that people get sometimes that is, I couldn't live my life without this thing, right? They're like, I couldn't live my life without music. I couldn't live my life without an arm. I couldn't live my life without this, that, the other. And you can. That's the weird thing, is like, you can. You just can. Right now you feel a certain way, but you're always able to love doing something that you're doing. People will feel like their entire purpose is one specific thing, but it's possible to lose that thing and to still fall in love with some other purpose or some other related thing. I thought that my whole thing in life was music for the longest time. And then I started exploring other stuff. And then I went, oh, wow, I really love doing this. I love doing this. I love doing this. So many different things that I love doing. I enjoy just doing physical labor. If I wasn't able to make games, if I wasn't able to do whatever creative pursuits that I want to do for some reason or another, I could have a very enjoyable life just lifting weights in my free time and then working whatever job I'm working. You know? There's this core fundamental optimism that I think it's important to have as a creative person, which is just, it's going to be all right. So many of us have this feeling of like, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to do this. Everything's going to fall apart, because creative people have a lot of ideas, and a lot of ideas can mean a lot of predictions, and a lot of predictions can mean a lot of anxiety. You can visualize the many different ways that everything could go, and you can go, oh my God, there's so many ways everything could go wrong, and there's so many things that I have to control for, and there's so many things that have to change. You don't have to. It's fine, because you have so many ideas. And you can find a way through, no matter which way things go. That's the thing. You'll figure it out. That's the real optimism. Oh, this game was terrible. You're still going to have a good time. You'll find a way. You know? Even if it's just, I'm going to walk away from this and do something else. Oh, the game I'm working on is going poorly. Well, you're still going to have a good time. You know? You're going to find a way to have a good time. And you're going to find a way to create cool stuff. And if you don't, you're still going to find a way to enjoy yourself or have some kind of positive impact on the people around you. That is my bit of optimism for you, is that no matter what happens, you're going to be able to find your way through it. There you go. Let's wrap this thing up. Here's the question for you this week. It is, what do you love to hate? Just think about it. And like, why? What is it about it that makes it so enjoyable to hate? And really notice the fact that you're enjoying hating it. You can enjoy a lot of negative stuff. You can enjoy hating something. You can enjoy being frustrated. You can enjoy the worst video game you've ever played, but what do you like hating? Now I'm trying to think what my answer to that question is. Oh boy. I love hating. Oh man. I was going to say reality TV shows, but I kind of just I just like them. It started sarcastically. I eventually ended up just liking them. Right? I got to a point where I was like, "Oh no, I just like this." And then I stopped watching them for the most part because they're kind of very gross, you know? Yeah, what do I love hating? I don't know. NFTs, those were really fun to hate for a while because you feel so superior about it, you know? That was pretty enjoyable. I'm sure I've got some better stuff in there somewhere. There's some game or something that I hate, probably. There's not many games that I hate. Ooh, some mobile games. What is that stupid King game, Candy Crush? I think I love hating that. I love hating microtransactions. I can get really mad about that and feel really justified. What Blizzard did to Warcraft 3 Reforged. I've had times where I have a really good time just like ranting about that with my brother because I have such strong feelings about Warcraft 3. Yeah, there's plenty of things that I love to hate. I can be a little bit of a grouch if we're being honest. It's kind of enjoyable for me, you know? I like to lean into it. I try not to constantly, but it's kind of enjoyable. That's everything I've got for you this week. Thank you for joining me. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, get out there, make some stuff, and have fun with it. I demand it. You have to enjoy it. You got to enjoy hating it too. Don't forget about that part. All right. Have a good one. Bye-bye.